We're here with Senator Rob Portman, a Republican from Ohio. Senator, what are you hoping to hear tonight from President Trump?
I think it's a great opportunity for the president to talk about ways to bring this country together. Policy issues where I think most people agree, like infrastructure, like tax reform, like having smarter regulations that don't impose such a burden on small businesses, and also helping the most vulnerable among us, particularly this epidemic of heroin, prescription drug, now fentanyl. It's affecting my state of Ohio, but it's affecting our entire country. And I hope he'll talk about those policy issues and kind of stay on, why it's important for us to make these reforms to help improve people's lives. And overseas, we've got a real challenge too. I hope he'll talk about why it's important to have a stronger military and why we need to restore America's role in the world for more peace and more stability.
Senator, a lot of the aides that I speak with on Capitol Hill are pushing for more specific details from this administration. Let's take tax policy, for example. The border tax has divided the Republican Party. Where do you stand on that issue, and what do you think should come of the border tax? And will we get more details from President Trump tonight?
I don't know if we'll get more details. I hope, frankly, on tax reform, he'll talk about why. I think still a lot of people are confused about why tax reform is so important. And to me, it's a huge opportunity for us to increase wages and improve the economy.
Are you for the border tax or against it?
Well, I think I'm so much for tax reform because we've got $2.5 trillion or so, locked up overseas because we have the highest rate in the world now among all the industrialized countries. We have a huge opportunity to give the economy a shot in the arm because taxes are so complicated for individuals now. We can simplify it, and we can get rates down by simplifying and still have the same revenue coming in fact, more revenue with growth. So I'm not trying to throw cold water on any proposals right now. I just think we got to get this process moving. But again, explain to the American people why we can do better. We can stop losing businesses overseas and investment in jobs overseas, which is happening from Ohio, my state, and other states. So, these are the kinds of issues, I think, where we should be able to find a bipartisan consensus. And I hope the president will talk about that tonight.
Senator, another issue, of course, is how to repeal parts of the Affordable Care Act. Now, I'm curious, there are several plans that are floating around in the Congress from the likes of Senator Rand Paul, who has a more conservative plan, as well as a more moderate centrist approach from Senator Susan Collins. What do you think should be done with Obamacare?
Yeah, well, again, let's explain why it's not working first so people understand why it's necessary to change the approach we're taking on health care. I do think parts of the Affordable Care Act, including allowing people that have pre-existing conditions to still get health care coverage, are really important. And I think that's sort of a consensus. You got to talk about that, too, to let people know that this is not about taking away the parts of that plan that are working, but a lot of the parts of it are not working, skyrocketing premiums, deductibles, co-pays. And so, my view is, let's have a replacement in place. As you know, early on in this process, I was one of the Republicans pushing back on moving too quickly because we didn't have the replacements in place. Now we're talking about replacements. That's a good step.
Quickly, you talk a lot about wanting to hear about bipartisan efforts. You talked about ways to combat drug trafficking. But what about vocational schools? And vocational education, how important is that? Is that another area? We've heard a little bit about this from Vice President Mike Pence. Is that something that you think we could hear tonight?
Absolutely. As you know, I have a passion for this issue. I started a caucus here in the Senate called CTE, Career and Technical Education, focusing on what was once called vocational education, now it's called CTE. It is cutting edge. I'm so excited about what's going on in Ohio. But around the country, we can do much better in terms of getting more young people to take that route, to get the skills training. It's great for them. They can get a job when they get out. They can get some college credit, actually, while they're in high school. Much more importantly for Ohio right now is the fact that we have this skills gap. We have a lot of jobs that are being advertised, about 120,000 jobs probably advertised this morning on our website, Ohio Means Jobs. Yeah. And yet you got 250,000 people out of work. And the difference when you look at these jobs largely is the skills gap. So by providing those skills, we're going to create more jobs here in this country and keep more businesses here in this country.